The meeting is ready to start.
Oh boy.
Hey,
Got it.
okay. Well, that worked.
Are they gonna let us know when the
Good afternoon, Rotarians. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Flint. Today is the 11th of June, 2021, and we sincerely appreciate you joining us as we look forward to an informative and a very entertaining program. And please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
to the flag
of the United
of the
States
United
of America
States of America
and to the
and to
republic
the republic
for which it
for which
stands,
it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
with
and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
And thank you. And the four-way test of the things that we think, say, or do. Is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair?
Is it fair to
all
all
concerned?
concerned?
Will it build
Will it build goodwill,
friendships?
better friendships?
Will it be
Will it be
beneficial?
beneficial?
All concerned.
All concerned.
Thanks again. And today's inspirational message will be given to us by Becky Millsap. Becky, you are front and center.
Thanks, Ray. Good afternoon. So when I think of Rotary, I think of all the friendships that we have formed during Rotary and in this group. So I wanted to talk a little bit about friendship. So I found some quotes by kids about friendship on a website called romper.com, where they asked 20 kids what makes them a good friend. So I'm going to read a few of them to you. Aiden says, because I'm nice. I think we'll see that we can say these about our Rotary friends as well. Aiden 8 said, because I'm nice. Noah, who's 10, says, being loyal, considerate, and fun. Adele 8 says, I sit next to them at lunch and play with them at recess. Gabriella 4 says, keeping my hands to myself makes a good friend. Chloe, who's 5, said, being nice to each other. Oliver 8 said, I'm trustworthy and I like to talk to people about stuff. Trey, who's 6, said, I'm helpful. And I think my favorite one was Aubrey, who's 7, who says, I sit with people at lunch who are alone and ask them if they want to join my friendship club.
Oh my goodness.
About Rotary. And then I also had this quote by Michelle Obama that I have in this book I have called Beautifully Said, Quotes by Remarkable Women and Girls Designed to Make You Think. So she said we should always have 3 friends in our lives. One who walks ahead, who we look up to and follow. One who walks beside us, who is with us every step of our journey. And then one who we reach back for and bring along after we've cleared the way. And when I think about Rotary and I think about the friendships that I've made in Rotary, I'm pretty sure I could pick 3 friends that do exactly those 3 things that Michelle Obama quoted. So today, I just want you to be thankful for your friendships that you've made in this club and reach out and let people know how thankful you are for their friendship. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm still hoping I get dragged along.
You've only got a few more weeks, Ray.
Are there any updates on the health and safety of Rotarians? Okay, hearing none. There are guests to be welcomed today. The first, I want to introduce himself, and that's Dylan. Dylan is joining us for the first time. Dylan, where are you?
Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
I hope you keep coming back.
I hope so too.
And I think we have a couple others.
I have a guest, Ray. Can you hear me, Ray? Nick?
Yes, yes.
Hey, Nick.
My wonderful wife, Jenny, is joining us again. She's having not only microphone issues, but camera issues. So you could probably see her name somewhere there, but she's not going to. Oh, she's communicating through the chat.
Oh, okay. Regardless of that, Jen, you are very welcome. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you.
And President Ray, I have a guest also, Anne Mervin.
who is a very good friend of mine and an excellent consultant. And I'm happy she's joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Mia. Good afternoon.
Good
Hello,
afternoon.
Ann.
Thank you for joining us. Any other announcements? I've got,
I have an announcement I was told to make by the president. So I'm going to save my dollar. My announcement is not going to cost anybody anything. They asked about music playing. They came up that Mott College Jazz Band is playing this coming Thursday and the following Thursday outside at on the lawn next to the library on the grounds at Mott College. I'll be the bass player in that band, and then there's going to be a whole bunch of better players around me. It's going to be great fun. It is from 5:30 till roughly 6:30, and they recommend you bring a lawn chair. So it's the next 2 Thursdays in a row.
okay, thank you for that.
And there's
Ann,
Lynetta Coney giving the nod.
And I don't have to be fined. That was just for the good of the cause. Thank you.
Just for the fun of the music.
Ann, would you like to just tell us a little bit about yourself? Is she there?
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, so I met Mia when I ran a leadership program for Michigan State called the Michigan Political Leadership Program. And the MPLP is a program that's bipartisan, and we help people achieve their leadership goals, and frequently those include running for office. So I had the privilege of doing that for 20 years, and I worked in state government for 20 years, and now I do government relations, and I help organizations like Children's Hospital of Michigan and United Way of Southeast Michigan accomplish their public policy goals in Washington and in Lansing. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here.
Cool.
Excellent.
And nobody ever contacted me back till now. I called there right after I dropped it and found it. Is it at Cortland?
I got it.
Every week.
Next.
Okay, any other announcements? Okay, next slide. So now it's time for the program. Rotary and Nick Godleski will introduce our featured speaker, Mr. Brandon Morgan, Development Director of the CRIM. Nick.
I am getting a ton of FaceTime today. Thanks, Ray. I appreciate that. All right, I get to introduce Brandon. Brandon currently, he's a director of development at the CRIM Fitness Foundation. He's been an absolute fantastic asset since he's joined on. Brandon's a lifelong Genesee County resident. He's been an educator and a coach, and he's worked in Flint talent development. He's worked at nonprofits, including the Flint and Genesee Chamber, as well as at Kettering before he was at the CRIM. So at this moment, Brandon is actually looking for he's on his personal search for the correct Rotary Club to join. So today Brandon's going to share, apart from a highly anticipated 2021 HAP CRIM Festival of Races update, he's going to add information on the CRIM's impact during the pandemic year, as well as the current vision under our new CEO, Lauren Haleli-Zembo, a vision to impact holistic health for all residents in Flint and Genesee County, and ways that we can all fully engage into this process. Brandon, take this as your interview to be picked for this Rotary Club. Go ahead.
No pressure, of course.
Well, gee, Nick, thanks for that warm introduction, all the flattering words. I'll try to not assume that all the flattery is a precursor to me being interviewed for the Flint Rotary, but nonetheless, it's great to be here. I know many of you and have worked with many of you over the last 10 years or so that I've been working in Flint. So it's great to see all of you on Zoom nonetheless, and look forward to seeing all of you in person sometime soon. But I'm so thankful to be here today and to share, as Nick said, just an update on what's going on at the CRIM. The hot button question is, what's going on with that race. And then I'd also like to just cover our impact in the community during COVID and take a look at our vision going forward. In addition to the race, how are we impacting holistic health in Flint and Genesee County, as Nick said. So I do have a short presentation covering some of those high points, and then just giving opportunities to people for them to be able to engage in the CRIM and other health programming throughout the county if that's of interest to you. So Ray, do I have screen sharing capabilities?
Yeah,
Yes,
you
you
should. Should be good.
All right, let me pop up my screen here.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's not the button I want. All right. Well, thanks again for having me. I'm also joined, I'll skip down here. So as Nick said, I'm Brandon Morgan, Development Director at the CRIM, and I'm joined by the young lady in this photo here who's also on the call, my right-hand development colleague, Fran Halliday. She and I are kind of attached at the hip and go everywhere together, and we're out there in the community talk about the CRIM. So Fran is joining me, and I'm sure many of you know Fran as well. So thanks for jumping on today, Fran. I'm sure you hear me talk enough at work, but you'll get to hear me talk a little bit more today throughout the presentation. So in today's presentation, like I said, with things changing every day, we've had a lot of questions about the race, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of the media about what's going on. So today I'm going to share an up-to-the-minute race update and fill you in on all the great things happening with the CRIM Festival of Races. Joe DeMambro, our new race director, has done an absolutely outstanding job planning this year's race and being flexible with all of the different moving pieces with COVID. He's done a phenomenal job. So I'll be kind of his surrogate today, giving a race update. I'd like to share some interesting CRIM history that maybe not everybody knows if you haven't been around the community in a long time. Cover our COVID impact. We really had to be creative when schools started closing and businesses started closing, in how we delivered our programming to keep people healthy and fed and mindful and educated. And I'd like to look forward, what's happening as we return to work and after we pass this year's race, what's going to happen with sports, with nutrition, with school programming, and how do we plan to impact more people than ever before going forward in 2021. And I will say too, if anybody has any questions, I can't see everybody while I share my screen. If anybody has questions or comments, feel free to throw something in the chat, or just go ahead and interrupt me and ask the question. And I want this to be more of a discussion than just a one-way presentation. So without further ado, as many of you know, since 1977, we've been known for this CRIM Festival of Races, and I'd like to assure everybody that nothing is changing as we approach our 44th CRIM. And so you can see the photos here of Bobby, our founder, early on. This, as you know, has become a Flint tradition, and we're so excited that throughout COVID, we were able to maintain the momentum. We're so appreciative to our racers, our runners, our walkers, our sponsors who helped us keep the CRIM spirit alive through COVID. This year, in our 44th year, things are going very well. We have over 800 people in the CRIM Fit training program, and we have almost 4,000 people already signed up for this year's race, which is really great. During 2020, of course, everything went fully virtual in terms of the race. And it was amazing to see the CRIM community come together. While it wasn't the mass gathering downtown, in 2020 in the virtual CRIM, we had 4,000 people sign up. We had people sign up from 6 different continents. We had people signing up in Australia and Hong Kong and France. We had people doing all of the race distances. So we were so excited to see people running and walking throughout 2020. But this year in 2021, it's so much better that we can bring people back in person. So before I move on to all of our CRIM programs, I'm going to push pause and tell you what's happening this year with the CRIM Festival of Races. So as I mentioned, we started planning this race when we came back to work in January. And of course, a lot has changed practically every day along the way. And so our plan, we started the year with 3 race plans and Nick as a board member can attest to this, he's heard all of them, everything from a fully virtual race to a race with no restrictions. And where we're falling is somewhere in the middle, but closer to normal than we would be to virtual. So dynamic planning and flexibility have been key. And as I said, we're just so thankful for the community's patience as we figured this out. not knowing what the race would look like, we started with a lottery registration system where people could sign up for the race, and we were going to pick a certain number of people to do that, to come downtown and be in person until we reached a certain cap. And we had no idea, working with the state, what that cap would be. That was just a month ago. And over the last month, what we've seen is that cap, for more or less, it's been lifted for outdoor events. And so the lottery system has been peeled away, and now registration is fully open. And we expect to have between 8,000 and 9,000 racers downtown on the fourth Saturday in August. So that's great news, but things will look a little different just because we want to keep people safe. For the optics, being a health organization, it would be bad if we were having a race where we're putting people in unhealthy situations. So we want to make sure as people come downtown and enjoy the race, running and walking, that they are safe and they're taking the proper precautions. So the key question is, when I sign up for the race, what is it going to be like? And I will say, first of all, that all of the race distances are happening in person this year. We have, of course, the 10 mile, the 5 mile, the 5K, and the Michigan mile. And a big shout out to Mia McNeil on the call and her team at U of M Flint for helping us work through getting that Michigan mile. It's going to be moved from Friday to Saturday. So all races now will take place on Saturday, August 28th. Each race will have a cap, and registration is open until those caps are met. On race day, when people come downtown, right now, we're still asking people to wear masks at the start and finish until the state repeals that guideline. And instead of having a mass start of thousands and thousands of people, racers will be given a time slot for a rolling start. So they'll be asked to start in 15 or 20-minute waves with several hundred people per wave. And then once they're out on the course, they can take their masks off, they can socially distance. And then, of course, when they cross the finish line, they'll get some prepackaged food and a medal. There'll be a somewhat scaled down flat lot party this year with the pizza and the beer we've all come to know and love. The only thing that's really going to be missing is the expo. Because of space considerations and planning considerations, we're going to be doing an outdoor packet pickup. But we want people to feel comfortable that when they spend those dollars on registration, they're going to be having a great experience on race day that is as close to normal, quote unquote normal, as it can be while still remaining very safe. So that's the race in a nutshell. Crim.org, you can go and register for the race or the training program if you'd still like to do so. If you have other questions about signing up, you can contact Fran or me or Joe DeMambro if you know him. So I know that's a lot of information and 6 months of planning in just a couple of minutes, but I'd like to just kind of pause there and see if there are questions. I know many of you are runners and walkers or former runners and walkers. So I'd like to just stop and pause and ask for your thoughts, your feedback, and any questions you might have about the 2021 race situation.
Okay, questions?
This is Lynetta. I have a question. I participate in speed walking, and I also do pass out water with my links group. What is the procedure for the water distribution, if any?
The course will, it'll be similar to how it has been in years past. There will be all of the course entertainment will still be in play, as well as the water station. So those volunteer groups who have been on the course before, handing out water, either informally on their own or formally as CRIM partners and water station volunteers, they will all be out there again. So if you have a group that would like to volunteer at one of the mile marker stations or water stations, I can definitely make the connection with Joe to get your group on the course as you've done in years past.
Okay, so it's for I don't know, 20 some years, we've always had the 2 mile marker, for the 10 mile. So so it'll be bottled water, no doubt, or I'm just trying to get an idea about if that's going to be different at all.
At this point, we will plan to pre-fill cups. So and kind of scale down slightly the number of volunteers. Bottled water kind of it's harder to transport, and there's it's a bigger recycling kind of initiative. So we will have pre-filled cups, but we won't be filling water bottles and things like that as we've done in the past. But we will have volunteers who are filling the cups and putting them on the tables, and of course picking those up after the race. So that will probably look as close to what you're used to as anything else.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
More questions?
Are you limiting the number of spectators in any way? Because the finish line obviously gets pretty crowded.
That's true. That's a great question. So along the course, on private property, people's lawns, we're still encouraging them to come out and watch the race and cheer people on along the course. In the downtown area, there will be kind of a, I guess we'll call it a restricted zone, and that will be from 2nd Street on the south side to just north of the bridge, going towards the Durant on the north side. And that will be gated off, and that will be kind of a participant-only zone where people have to, if they're stipulated to do so, wear their masks. But we're not going to allow spectators in that section near the finish line where it gets really, really crowded. So we're going to have fewer spectators downtown, but encourage people to watch from other places on the course.
How are you going to manage your staggered starts?
When people sign up, they will be able to opt for a time slot for the rolling start. So they'll be able to pick a 15-minute window, or one will be assigned to them if they don't pick one. So we'll still have the 30 and 40-year runners starting up front. There will be no elites this year because of border closings, but we will have the 30 and 40-year runners starting up front. And then after that, we'll start in 15-minute waves where they can enter the corral and start at any point during that 15 minutes. And those, the earliest starting time is 7 o'clock, and I think the latest is somewhere near 11 o'clock. So we're encouraging people who perhaps are walking or not as bothered by the heat to sign up for later start times, and people who are maybe running faster and need it to be cooler to sign up for earlier times. But it'll be on a first come, first serve basis until each starting slot is full. But there'll be several hundred slots and participant slots in each starting wave.
Have you thought of different colored bib numbers?
We'll have dynamic bibbing again this year, where we print bibs on demand. So that's definitely an option that I can relay to the race director about having different colored bibs. That's a great suggestion.
I think that would work.
Yeah, and I think people's registration will have their starting time on it, and we can probably even print that on the bib too if we can't do different colors.
They're going to ignore what you tell them. They're going to do what they want to do unless you got someone controlling. Guaranteed. Been there, done that. Always push to the front.
That's true. That's true. You might be absolutely right about that.
Well, the color.
I would say though, I would say though, don't assume that because you're slower that you don't need it to be cooler. Speaking from personal experience,
it would be
some of us old people need it really slow and
yeah,
cool.
It would be either or an and, where people could pick a slot that they're comfortable with for any variety of factors. Yeah.
Hey, Brandon, in the chat, Jenny just asked. She said, because I actually just texted her. I said, "Do we have a time yet?" Because I had no idea if we had or didn't. She said, "I heard that the training program participants will be starting at 7. Is that true, or do we need to sign up?" I know our program, our CRIM group was asking about that on Tuesday, and I didn't know.
That I don't know the answer to either, Nick. I think that training groups who have been training together, the intent is to keep them together for the race, obviously for time, pacing purposes and just camaraderie. I don't know if each timing group will get a slot or if they'll be up front. So we can definitely ask Joe about that.
Just tell Joe to shoot out a message, in the tidbits thing for that, because it's unclear to everybody. So that's an easy thing to clear up.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question.
I've got a question. Brandon, you said the packet pickup and the expo are going to be outside, and where will that be?
There won't be a full expo this year with all of the vendors, but we will do an outdoor packet pickup. It will likely be downtown on a piece of the flat lot here just across from our office, where we'll have a big tent up and parking and things available for people. Just because many of the facilities we typically use are closed and people feel more comfortable outdoors, we opted to go that route. And there will be also packet pickups, as in previous years, around the community, at HAP, at some of the local running stores. We'll do some pop-ups too, where if people can't come down on a certain day, they can find their packet other places in the community. If people sign up for a virtual event, their packets will be shipped directly to their homes.
Okay. More questions?
So what time are you thinking the Michigan Mile's going to be? You said it's going to Saturday?
It is going to Saturday. I believe it is, I believe it's the last event to start, but I don't think we've settled on the exact time yet.
Okay.
All great questions. And as you can imagine, planning this has been, it's been a wild ride. I've only been involved tangentially because the race is not my main responsibility, thankfully, but it's been a lot of discussion, a lot of moving parts, a lot of different proposals, and kudos to the team here who does handle the race for really doing their best to have a great community event. And we hope all of you will come down and watch or participate. So we're looking forward to 44, and then in 2022 it'll be, believe it or not, Crim 45, so another big anniversary year, and before you know it, we'll be at Crim 50. So again, we appreciate the community's support with the race. So I mentioned to some of the people in my breakout room that I started at the Crim just over a year ago. I started 5 days before COVID-19 hit, so I was welcomed to the Crim and speedily sent home to work at home. And I've been back in the office since last July, but even a lot of people in the community, when I took this job, said, the Crim, that's that race thing. I'm like, it is that race thing. That's what we're known for, but there's so much more. So one of the greatest parts about my job is telling people about what we do and what the race is truly a celebration of, which is community health. And so I'd like to just give a quick update on each of our programs in case people aren't familiar with them, what it is they do, and the impact that they have. So the Crim has gone from a small staff of people across the street, a handful of people, to now 50 employees, and impacting 50,000 people a year. So we're doing a lot of really great work, and I'd like to share with all of you what we did during COVID, which was a bit different than our normal work, and then what we do in a typical year. So let me see if I can.
Absolutely.
So as I mentioned, we started in 1977 as a road race for the Special Olympics, and we still partner with them. But now we're involved in all aspects of health, including nutrition, sports, community health advocacy, and now focusing a bit more on mental health with community mindfulness. So you can see our programs there on the screen. The race and the training program is what people predominantly know us for, but we also have the Flint Community Education Initiative, which is serving 13 schools in Flint, 11 Flint schools and 2 charter schools. We're the flagship city. We're the nation's leading city for mindfulness and meditation. We are now in charge of all Crim intramural sports at 17 sites. So now all sports, including the Greater Flint Olympian Games in Canusa, are housed at the Crim. We have nutrition programming at more than 20 sites out in the community for adults and children. And we have this great group of people called the Active Communities Team who focus on health policy, they focus on bicycle education, and they focus on built environmental change. So we're building playgrounds, we're putting in infrastructure with sidewalks and bike lanes, and we're really getting a lot of money, grant money for capital projects, millions of dollars a year, to improve access, the walkability and the bikeability of our community. If it's safe, if we ask people to participate in outdoor activities and be healthy, they need a safe, clean, healthy, accessible space to do that. And so now we're focusing on all aspects of the health continuum with really six outstanding programs. So how did we go from a foot race that's been around for 44 years to a foundation doing all of these things? And many of you probably know this story. But in 2005, Jerry Myers was hired as our first CEO, and he's really, he and his team and the board of directors really started to add programming and make the Crim a community convener where we were able to take on some of these bigger projects. And he spent 15 years here at the Crim, recently retiring in September of 2020. I'm sure many of you knew Jerry. I was really blessed to be able to work with him for a short time before his retirement. And now we're under the direction of a new CEO, Lauren Haleli Zembo. And she's the new CEO, but by no means is she new to the Crim. She's been here for 12 years, most recently as the Vice President of Community Impact and the leader of our Flint Community Education Initiative. So Lauren's been with the Crim a long time. And you can see the photo of Jerry there on the right, our former CEO, and Lauren in the middle. And then on the left is Mark Yonan, our board president. So she became our CEO officially in September of 2020 in the midst of COVID, and did a really great job navigating our organization and all of our community partners through kind of a crazy year, as many as all of us know, I guess. And we've expanded our vision over that time. It's not just to get people out running and walking, but it's to create a vibrant community where everybody can lead a healthy lifestyle. They can be physically active, they can eat nutritious foods, they can have access to those foods, and they can incorporate mindfulness into their daily lives. And we also teach communities around the country to do programming like we do here in Flint. And we've become a national model on how to create community education, not just in health, but throughout the school system. So I'm going to highlight each of our programs really quickly. The photo on the left here is the race we all know and love, right? That's what we hope Saginaw Street looks like in all of the years for the race, where there's tens of thousands of people downtown. And really, as I've come to know, the Crim is a holiday for many people here. In any given year, we have about 12,000 runners and walkers from 40 states. And I think last year we had a dozen countries as well. This year, our race cap will be 9,000 people, so it will be slightly smaller than a normal year, but it will still be a big celebration. And of course, the Crim Fit training program continues to be one of the largest in the country, with over 1,000 adults in the running and walking groups. And if you're around town anywhere, really in Genesee County on Tuesday nights, you'll see those runners and walkers out there in their groups. And I know many of the people on this call even are registered for the Crim Fit training program, and that includes your race entry. But again, if people are ready for the race, feel free to sign up at crim.org. We still have lots of spots for running and walking registrations. But we're coming off a virtual year with 4,000 registrants from dozens and dozens of countries around the world. And we realized that the virtual was a really great idea, because maybe people want to participate in the Crim, but they live in China, as one of our Flint expats does. And so we will continue to have a virtual race every year for those people who can't make it downtown for any reason, whether it's a weekend wedding or living in a different country. So one of the cool silver linings of the pandemic was that we found a new running and walking audience with our HAP virtual Crim. So that's available to people too, if you won't be around. In addition to the race, our biggest program, really over half of our staff are dedicated to the Flint Community Education Initiative. And as those of you who have been around Flint a long time know, it's not a new thing. 80 years ago, C.S. Mott and Frank Manley started this. We became a national model for community education, and we brought that back as a pilot in 2014. We're now in our 6th year of Flint community education at 13 school sites, and we're serving 4,000 families border and barrier free. So if someone does not go to Flint schools, but they live in Flint, they can still participate in our sports programming, our after school programming, our adult programming. You can show up at that school, and every Flint school, along with the 2 charter academies, Flint Cultural Center and International Academy, are resource hubs. And you can see our outcomes on the left. We want students to be in school, attending, we want to increase graduation, we want to increase literacy, and we want to increase neighborhood impact. And we do that from pre-K to post-high school. We partner we handle all of the after-school programming, all of the health services. We help families get GEDs, we help them get placed in jobs, we make sure that they can get doctor's appointments and vaccines. We even help with things like utilities and rent. So when people have a problem, they know to turn up at their school, talk to their school director, and ask for the assistance they need. And the stories during the last year of how we've been able to help people are really just astounding. Our community school directors, we have staff in each school, are really serving people, and they're the boots on the ground. Through these programs, you see here a couple of our recent graduates on the left with their community school director. Our community school director, Muhammad Abutuila, in that photo, he helped every student complete a FAFSA. He helped every student make sure they were on track to graduate. And he raised over $1 million in scholarship funds for his students at that school. And the Crim started a fund to pay for all caps and gowns to make sure every graduate had the opportunity to walk in their graduation ceremony. And then in addition to that, it's attendance support, it's college mentoring. Parents can benefit from everything from fitness and nutrition classes to financial literacy to physical fitness. Community health workers are calling thousands of families every week to make sure that kids have what they need to attend schools, that they have health insurance, that they have doctor's appointments, that they have, the heat and the air conditioning's on, that they have access to Wi-Fi to get on virtual school. And if they don't have those things, we're going literally to the doorstep to make sure that families have what they need. During COVID, we found out that food was the biggest issue facing Flint families. And so our community school directors were putting together 4,000 boxes every month to be delivered right to the doorsteps of our students. And in those boxes, it was food, it was toiletries, it was tablets, it was Wi-Fi hotspots, it was books. We delivered 3,000 bags of sports equipment, 300,000 pounds of food right to the doorstep. And so we wanted to prove at the CRIM that we were going to meet people where they were, even if it was right in their homes, to make sure that they were able to learn. We're also organizing after school programming, which we did virtually this year. And as I mentioned, community ed now, like it was in the old days with community school directors, is now home to all community-wide sports. But really what we're doing is we're allowing teachers to focus on teaching, principals to focus on school management, and we're filling in all of those other gaps with about 400,000 hours of programming across the sites each year. So when you see those students in after school programming or participating in CNUSA, those are all CRIM programs. And so this is a huge initiative. It takes 25 people on our staff, plus all of the Flint school and charter school partners to run this, but it's something we're really, really proud of. And many of our other programs run through the schools. I mentioned we're the flagship city for mindfulness. We're really trying to make this a community-wide initiative to benefit workplace productivity, to help people navigate stress. And this really became important during the pandemic when people were feeling isolated, they were feeling stressed. We really focused on compassionate leadership, mindful awareness, and we were bringing together community members to focus on differences, to bridge gaps, whether it was with racial healing, whether it was with just the different tensions we saw in society. This mindfulness and yoga has become something that is really, it's really a secondary measure. It's bolstering up our health needs. It's making sure people are mentally resilient and mentally tough. And we're operating in all sectors now. We're in the healthcare sector, the business sector, the nonprofit sector, the education sector, and the community and nonprofit sector. So we actually have about 10,000 people a year that we provide training to in mindfulness with just a staff of 5. So we have a huge ambassador and volunteer program where people can learn about the benefits of meditation, about the benefits of yoga, and really about the benefits of just being community-minded and compassionate. And this is one of our fastest growing programs, but we're one of 3 cities in the country leading this initiative. The others are Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and Boston, Massachusetts. So to have Flint up there with these huge cities getting recognized nationally is something we're very proud of. So I mentioned that we're serving 10,000 people. We actually have 5 people now instead of 3. And we're being entrusted with these universities like Brown University and Michigan State University. They're actually studying our impact in mental resilience and in our programming, and they're publishing the results for other communities to learn from. So we're really kind of breaking new ground in this mental resilience space, in this mindfulness space. And if you come to the CRIM and you stop in, we have a room dedicated to mindfulness where people can hang out, they can have some quiet space, they can do yoga, they can do their mindfulness. And really, people are a little bit scared of this, or they think it's a bit odd when they first try it. But really what mindfulness is about isn't about sitting down and meditating for hours every day. It's about being present throughout your day and finding ways to just check in and making sure that you're being honest and kind and compassionate. And so I think there's actually a lot of parallels between the mindfulness philosophy and what Rotarians believe that they should be doing in their everyday life, like service above self and speaking truth and things like that. So there's a great opportunity there for continued training for residents and businesses. I mentioned that the CRIM now is in charge of all community-wide sports leagues at Flint schools. We've got about 9,000 student athletes and coaches impacted by this work. We're offering 8 to 10 sports every 6 months. And again, border and barrier free. Any student who lives nearby, they can participate in sports for free. They can be coached by qualified adults. They can get uniforms, and they can even play competitive sports through Greater Flint Olympian Games in CNUSA, which have been around since the 50s. And it's a great opportunity. And we really think that we have the opportunity to take students who maybe lack resources, get them into these sports programs, and really have a positive impact on Flint sports history. As we all know, Flint has created some of the greatest athletes the world has seen. And we want to make sure that students who are great athletes are not, they're not kept from playing sports just because of a financial reason or a transportation reason. So we are making sure that sports are available to every school and 4 community centers that we partner with. That same team handles our nutrition programming. We have about 9,000 to 10,000 people every year who are receiving this programming either in the schools, at local grocery stores, or at farmers markets. So people can get food navigation assistance. They can find out how to get healthy foods, how to cook them. If they're food insecure, they can get Flint Fresh boxes delivered to their doorstep, and along with the support to actually cook that food and make it a sustainable practice. So this is something that happens in Flint schools and schools across the county. If you go to a local Meijer or the local farmers market in Davison or Flint, you'll see CRIM staff there helping people shop for the food that they need. And our last program, but not least, is Active Communities. And as I mentioned, this is a group that does a whole bunch of different things. They are hosting neighborhood grassroots groups. They're doing census work, making sure that Flint is getting their voice heard through the census. They're providing technical assistance for neighborhood redevelopment. They're redirecting and taming traffic on city streets by putting up radar signs, by doing road diets, putting in bike lanes, doing bike education. And our biggest initiative, about $2 million a year, is garnered for Safe Routes to Schools, which helps put in sidewalks and bike lanes so that Flint kids can walk, bike to school safely, use crosswalks safely, things like that. And so a lot of those construction projects that you're seeing happen around Flint schools are those Safe Routes to Schools projects. And all of this work continued during COVID. We did a lot at, virtually. We got in front of a lot of people at their homes. We did a lot of things. And it really forced us to do something we probably should have done long ago, which is reach new audiences online. And we found a worldwide audience for virtual running and for mindfulness. But we also found that people will do things at home and they will lead healthy lifestyles if we can reach them in that way. And so we'll continue to do that, as I mentioned, but we're really looking forward to schools opening back up. We're really looking forward to getting sports programming online this summer, and really ramping back up to reach those 50,000 Flint residents that we've been serving all along. So there's a way, of course, I wouldn't be a great fit or asset for the CRIM, as Nick mentioned, if I didn't mention the ways that all of you can get involved. And there's a number of ways that you can help us that are free. They're no cost or low cost. So I'd encourage everyone to consider signing up to run or walk in this year's Hat CRIM Festival of Races. We have a golf outing coming up if you're golfers in July to support our Canusa sports programming, put a foursome together. Nick will be out there with his foursome. They're getting signed up. So if you have questions, Nick has a flyer on that, or I can provide more information.
That's Monday, the 26th of July, by the way, right, at Flint Golf Club.
At the Flint Golf Club. It's a good time. Last year, it was a great success. So hopefully you're able to join for that. If you're a Flint resident, join one of our neighborhood task force groups. We do a lot of blight elimination, neighborhood cleanups. We do a lot of advocacy work. Come out and join us and help out in your neighborhood, in your neck of the woods. Sign up for one of our yoga or mindfulness classes if you're curious about that, or you're already have a personal practice. Or if you're a business owner and you want to learn more about how mindfulness can help workplace productivity, we'd be happy to do a training for your staff or for the people in your business or social circle. This fall, join us for a school tour. If you want to see what kids are up to in the Flint schools and how CRIM programming helps them, come out, go for a walk in one of the schools, or become a volunteer in any of our programs. We're always looking for people to help, not only with the race, but with our VIP events in the summer, with our school programming. Maybe you have a special skill where you want to teach, to Flint kids. We would love to have you as a volunteer or as a partner in that capacity. So all those are easy ways to get involved in the CRIM. With a staff of 50, we rely heavily on the community to disseminate our services. Even more, we'd love to hear your CRIM story. I talked to someone this morning who's run every single CRIM. They've run through heart attacks, they've run through surgeries, they've run through family tragedies. It's a great story. Those stories help us celebrate you and celebrate a healthy lifestyle. Help us pass out our annual report or our CRIM literature or our golf outing flyer. If there are things that you're interested in, you can become an ambassador for us. And of course, I wouldn't be a development person if I didn't mention becoming a donor or sponsor. We have hundreds of sponsorship opportunities and donation opportunities across the community. So just letting people know that the CRIM is here, it's here for them. All of our programming, most of our programming is free, and we're able to do that through our sponsors and donors. So there's a ton of opportunity to help us meet new people, business, personal, and foundation to help us continue to sustain our operations. But I think the biggest thing that the community is helpful for us in doing is saying to people, the race is a celebration of everything the CRIM does in the schools, in business, in health, across the community. It's so much more than a race. So if you can help us with that message, that you're already a great CRIM ambassador. And we have a great board of directors who is always spreading the good news. And so these are my favorite types of presentations, just to clue people in on what we're doing so that they can say, hey, did you know the CRIM does this, this, and this? And it might really change the way you live your life. And so we're here and we're continuing to serve, and we'll do what we can to keep serving the community. So my email address is here on the screen and my phone number. I can also put Fran's email address up, but we're here to answer your questions. I know my presentation is probably running a bit long, but I just want to say thanks again for having me. It's always a pleasure to speak to Rotarians about what it is we're doing and how we're serving. I'm available anytime for questions. If you have them about the CRIM, please shoot me an email or send me a text, give me a call. I'd be happy to meet up and talk more about the CRIM. But that's it in a nutshell what we're up to. It's a lot and it takes a village. So at this point, I'll stop talking and open it up for further discussion or questions if they're out there.
That was a big nutshell, Brandon.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I just want to add 2 cents to something there. You mentioned the school tours. When those become available, those are impressive. I highly recommend them because you're going to be surprised what's going on in the schools. It's way more than what you expect. When that comes back, I highly recommend taking advantage of that.
Excellent.
I agree. It's totally mind blowing, everything that's going on in the schools, and those schools are open all the time, for people to be up there on the evenings and the weekends, and just the breadth of programming, especially for adults. During COVID, we had a number of parents who contacted us and said, I was never able to finish school and I'm home and I'm working remotely. Can the CRIM help me? And we started a program where 28 people were able to get their high school diploma or GED from home, and we were able to place them in better jobs. And that's not something the CRIM had ever done before, but it was just a need that popped up. We were able to address it. And that's something that just happened through one of the schools. And so it's stuff that like that, Nick, to your point, you wouldn't expect happening that you see on these school tours where you're just like, wow, who knew that this was a free resource in our community?
How do you get your funding, Brandon? And how much is it a year approximately?
For the entire organization?
Yeah.
The CRIM is about an $8 million organization in terms of total funding. Our funding comes from a variety of places. We're funded, many of our programs are grant funded at a state and national level. So we get money from the government through SNAP Ed nutrition funding and Michigan Fitness Foundation. But we also get grants, of course, locally from the Community Foundation. We get sport specific grants. We have a lot of sponsors in the community, business sponsors who sponsor things like the race or our sports tournaments. And of course, through individual donors, all of that kind of piled together helps us to get where we need to get every year. But it's really a variety, big and small. We have donors who give us $1, and we have grants that are several $1 million. But that's one of the hats I wear, is to make sure that we're well diversified and well balanced in terms of our funding streams. But our funders, donors, and sponsors were awesome and very flexible when COVID hit, helping us stay where we needed to be to serve the community.
Hey, Brandon, is it
any participant has no charge to be in the CRIM?
Obviously the race has a participant fee, but any type of community ed programming or mindfulness programming, with a very few exceptions, all of that is free to the participants in the community.
Brandon, as far as some of the individual things, would it be an opportunity for, I don't know, legacy planning, where somebody could put the CRIM as part of their beneficiary on their IRA or 401k or something like that? Is that a thing that can be done?
Well, of course, Nick, the Jerry Myers Legacy Society, newly launched Jerry Myers Legacy Society, is a great way for people to leave planned gifts and estate gifts to the CRIM. Those can be designated either to the general fund or to your favorite CRIM program. That's definitely an option that people can explore as a way to help the CRIM over time.
If you're curious, you can reach out to your local financial advisor.
Lynn, you had a question.
Yeah, Brandon, that's
findable, by the way. Sorry, Lynn.
Wonderful presentation. I have been particularly disturbed this year as I drive around the city with the blight, the litter, and grocery carts in the middle of parking places. So I know we're doing an effort to pick up, but are we teaching the kids and the adults not to throw the stuff down in the first place? Is that part of our mindfulness and our caring about one another?
We're sure trying, and it's not just a part of mindfulness, but it's a part of two of our programs, both on the community ed side and on the active community side. We've been instrumental in forming neighborhood groups. So we formed the Ballinger Park Coalition. We formed the Brownell Homes STEM Neighborhood Association.
Mm-hmm.
And when some of those parties and things were happening during COVID and there was a mess left in a school parking lot, it wasn't those people who had the party cleaning up, but it was our residents who came out with the kids, leading by example and saying things like, we're out here to clean up somebody else's mess. Let's not be somebody that creates this type of mess in the future. And those opportunities, they're really neighborhood and grassroots based, but you have people of every age out there working together to make sure that their neighborhood stays clean and safe and well lit and all those things. And they're making beautiful improvements. If you've been to some of the schools lately with the gardens and with the flower planting, it's really kind of neat to see. I mean, those things are going to continue to happen, but we're doing our best to mitigate that by catching them young and saying, hey, let's take care of our neighborhood.
Yeah. Yes, because I really think that's the only solution, is to teach the children, let's not make the mess in the first place. And we just have to be more cognizant of our fellows, our neighbors, our friends, our citizens. But thank you. That was a wonderful presentation.
Thanks, Lynn. Appreciate it.
Brandon, with the magnitude of what you're doing with this program, is just not only encouraging, but it's inspirational. So we've had 2 inspirational messages today. Thank you for what you do. There are also some compliments on the chat that you might want to check out also. And
yes, I will.
Thanks for leaving your information with us. In appreciation for the time and preparation that you donated for your very educational presentation, the Rotary Club of Flint will make a donation in your name to the Rotary International Foundation for the eradication of polio. And we sincerely thank you both, you and Fran. And I know both of you are in great shape with everything that's going on. I think the only weight you might have gained would be on your chin from the beard that you're growing.
The bearded version, yes.
But thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks, Nick, for the intro. And thanks for everybody on the call who already supports the CRIM. Couldn't do it without you guys.
All right. And thank you for joining us and participating for us today. Flint Rotary expresses its appreciation to our organizers. Rotarian Nick Godleski for introducing today's speaker, and Rotarian Becky Millsap for today's inspirational message and for taking notes of today's activities. Flint Rotary thanks each and every one of you for joining us today. And we are inviting you to join us next week to see and hear the president of the Flint Bucks, Costa Papista, updating us on the return of live soccer to Flint. As always, guests are welcome to join us. Bring several. Be safe, be vaccinated if you are not, and look for opportunities to provide service above self as you enjoy more sunshine and warmth. Listen carefully for the bell to signify that we are adjourned. Hey, that's more like it. It's almost there. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Good weekend.
Thank you, Mia.
Michael.
I'm dialing your phone right now.
Okay.
Cell phone or home?
Huh?
Cell phone or home?
Cell phone.
Okay.
We will see you next week.
See ya.